Gracias.
Okay, I'm going to speak in English. Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Ivan Rebolledo. I'm part of the leadership group of Colombianos con Biden. It is my great pleasure to introduce Gregory Meeks, now in his 11th term as Congressman representing the 5th Congressional District comprising Southeastern Queens, New York. Born in East Harlem, he received his BA degree from Adelphi University and a JD degree from Howard University School of Law. He worked as an assistant DA and for the Special Narcotics Prosecutor for the City of New York. In '92, he was elected to the New York State Assembly, where he served until 1998, where he won a special election to represent the 5th Congressional District of New York. For the purposes of our discussion today, let me focus on the Congressman's role as a senior member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, where he serves as an influential member on both the Subcommittee for Western Hemisphere Civilian Security and Trade Issues. He is a recognized multilateralist with decades of experience in foreign policy. He also is a member of the Black Caucus, as well as many other subcommittees that I won't get into. It's important to highlight that he has a long-standing relationship with Colombia on numerous fronts, including Plan Colombia, the Colombia-U.S. Free Trade Agreement, advocating for Afro-Colombian labor and political leaders, and just recently writing to President Duque, along with 2 other House members, on the tragic assassination of Afro-Colombian youths in Cali. So before turning it over to the Congressman, let me also mention that we are very pleased to have Francisco Santos, the Ambassador of Colombia to the U.S., on the call. So we welcome him for joining us. I've had the pleasure of knowing Congressman Meeks for many years. He's an ally on many fronts. So thank you for taking the time for joining us today. Thank you, Congressman. I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you so much for your leadership and for what you do to make sure that America stays connected with our friends and allies on the Western Hemisphere, and especially in Central and South America. The work that you do is invaluable. And also, let me just say thank you. There's so many friends, so many of you that I see out there, allies and friends of mine. And I just gotta, you get in trouble when you name a few, but I've got to shout out Oscar Gamboa, of course. He's my brother who I work very closely with, and I still call him Governor Luis Moreno, who is, from the time that I started working out there. And then I see Robert Espira. Robert was the individual who, when I first visited Colombia, and we went out to Choco and to Tumaco and to Buenaventura, to places where folks did not go for members of Congress, and opened up my eyes to what's taking place. It's so good to see you. And of course, to my friend, Ambassador Santos, who I've known from those travels when he was the vice president and working, and you're talking about taking up the plight of African Colombians and moving forward. Ambassador Santos, I thank you so very much for your friendship and for working with me collectively so that we can make that happen. And lastly, Jennifer, I know that with my friend Deb Haaland and other members of Congress, that when we look at Central and South America with a Biden Harris team, we're going to do a heck of a lot better than what has been happening over the last 4 years. So, y'all are here today for 2 causes: to make sure that we look at the advancement of African Colombians and in the community in Washington, D.C., that we in Congress understand that significance and importance, as well as to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to be president and vice president of the United States. Now, Congress, especially during this wayward administration like today's, plays an integral role in supporting U.S. government programs focused on the African Colombian community. And I had the opportunity to travel to various places with Vice President Biden, particularly to Guatemala, where we were looking at trying to make sure prosperity for peace in Central America there in regard to the Northern Triangle, and then looking how we could expand and go to South America. And I can recall and know that soon we're going to have a big conference that's in the United States, and hopefully with a Biden president and Kamala Harris as vice president. I can recall when the Obama Biden team when we were in Trinidad initially, right after he was elected president. It was important, and I look forward to what we're having again in the United States. And so I got to give another special shout out, because when it comes to the future Madam Vice President Harris, I immediately think about the special relationship that our alma mater, Howard University, has with Cali. Every year, Howard University students go to Cali for a semester to work on race and identity through the Afro-Colombian lens and take that knowledge back home. Additionally, there is this wonderful MLK Junior Fellowship Program, which we worked on a long time ago, which was designed to provide scholarships to outstanding Afro-Colombian and indigenous students to learn English and receive leadership training. And a year and a half ago, I was part of a congressional delegation where I met some of these young, bright lights that are there that can be and will be the future leaders in Colombia. This is but one example of why I have hope for the future. And Senator Kamala Harris, soon to be our vice president, is an ally and a friend and will be extremely important voice as vice president. But we are all very aware of the persistent historical and structural problems that face the community. As indicated earlier, just a few days ago, I, along with my colleague, Albio Ceres, wrote a public letter to President Duque demanding a full investigation into the recent killings of the 5 Afro-Colombian teens. This is a part of a worrisome and recent trend. And one of the things that I know is important, when you have true friends, you tell them the truth. And that's what this letter is about. And hopefully we get a chance to talk to President Duque. We want to go further and have that conversation with him. I think often about my visit to Bohaya and Choco, the site where more than 100 people died inside of a church that was bombed in 2002 by guerrilla forces. And on that trip, I met with African, Colombian, and indigenous communities that spoke of the constant fear that they live with. And I saw for myself the remoteness of the area and the economic isolation. In similar moments over the years, I have seen areas throughout Colombia that were caught in the crosshairs of war and narco trafficking. And what I saw led me to focus intently on what more we can do with U.S. assistance. With Biden in the White House, I will urge them to reinvigorate the U.S.-Colombia Action Plan on Racial and Ethnic Equality, which recognizes the important contributions of African-descendant and indigenous people and seeks to elevate recognition of their culture. In my role in the Foreign Affairs Committee, and hopefully as the chair of that committee, I will be able to ensure that race, ethnicity, and social inclusion unit at the State Department is protected and operational. This unit coordinates U.S. diplomacy on social inclusion and racial equality in the Western Hemisphere. I, along with my great friend, the late, great John Lewis, before he passed, pushed for appropriations of funds for a number of programs for fiscal year 2021. $2 million to support the international academic and professional and cultural exchanges through partnerships with historically Black colleges and universities. Promoting stable democracies in the Western Hemisphere by implementing joint action plans between the US and Colombia and Brazil to support racial and ethnic equality, and expanding the Western Hemisphere's race, ethnicity, and social inclusion units programming to other regions. Funding to expand state and USAID diversity in hiring, retention, and promotion efforts for its workforce, including by supporting mid-career and senior professionals' development opportunities and partnerships with minority-serving institutions like the Charles B. Rangel and the Thomas R. Pickering and the Donald M. Payne programs for undergraduate and graduate students. Report to Congress on state and USAID efforts to address global rise in racial discrimination, expanding opportunities for minority-owned businesses to compete for the Department of State contracts and grants, and to make sure that we're partnering with African Colombians on the ground in Colombia. And $25 million to support African Colombian and indigenous communities. Finally, I believe, as I said, in honest diplomacy and dialogue. President Duque, who I know and admire personally, have known him for a long time, was scheduled to visit DC next week. I don't know whether my friend Ambassador Santos will be there if it is on, but A message, Ambassador Santos, to him has always been clear, and me and you, our conversation has always been open and honest. Sustainable peace in Colombia requires an inclusive justice system and unassailable buy-in from the government. It requires robust economic development that encompasses smart trade policy, which provides needed assistance for affected communities, especially the Afro-Colombian one, in order to ensure broad peace and stability in our interests. And I need you all as well. It's not just up to us, the lawmakers, but it's also up to the communities who come with creative ideas, energy, and testimony. It is up to the business community to act responsibly and aid those efforts. I am hopeful in my capacity as chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, along with working with very closely the Biden-Harris administration. We will use all of our powers and leverage to continue to fight for the upliftment of Colombia and especially the African Colombian population. I know that we have to do better domestically in the United States, but we use that example to show what we need to fight for collectively in Colombia so that we can lift all votes, let them rise to the top, because there is no limit on the power and the ability and the contribution that African Colombians can make to Colombia as African Americans are making here in the United States of America. So I look forward to working with you and to being with you. Colombia is my second country. I've got an honorary citizenship to Colombia, and I look at it and take it in just that vein. It is a very personal thing to me to see and to work with my friends in Colombia and to make sure that we're elevating those who are of African descent and indigenous individuals so that tomorrow can be much better than today or yesterday. So thank you all, and I hope to see you soon in person, as soon as we can get past this pandemic. I can close on that. We gotta work together, because I know of how also, because of the pandemic, African Colombians and African Americans are suffering at a greater rate than anyone else. These are things that we need to partner on. These are things that we can work together on. These are things that can make it better for all of us. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman Meeks. I think Oscar wants to say a word briefly. Oscar, ¿quieres decir algo brevemente?
Yeah, thank you, Ralph. I only want to say my Congressman Meeks, my brother, my hermano. We love you all. We deeply thanks of you and your staff, your Sophia, all your team. We do appreciate all the things you have done for us. Thank you very much. It's good that the people from Colombia listening, participating in this conversation now that Congressman Meeks is our congressman in U.S. Congress. Always thank you, mi hermano.
Thank you. Let's elect Biden, Harris, President and Vice President of the United States. And I tell you, with them in office, the policies of the United States, working collectively with my friends in the Colombian government, will uplift Colombia and continue our relationship as strongly as it has been. But let's, everybody that can vote in the U.S., please remember, November 3rd, we President and Vice President of the United States of America.
It will be so. Be sure of that.
Thank you, Congressman Meeks. Congressman Meeks, you've been an amazing friend to Colombia. Last time we traveled through to Colombia, the first time 20 years ago, you went to see the situation of blacks in Colombia, but the thing is, you became the best friend of Colombia as a whole. You supported the black communities in Colombia, you still support the black communities in Colombia, but you love the country. And that's one thing that people in Colombia recognize, that you are Colombia's best friend in the U.S. Congress. So thank you so much.